So this is going to be, where do I even begin? This is a bittersweet episode. This is our August episode of the Going There series. And over this past year, I've mentioned this kind of in like every episode of Going There. It's been very interesting to document without teaching, without having a end goal or a specific structure to the episode or what I want people to take away from it, and really just letting it free flow based off of what's been happening in my life and what I've been navigating and what I've been seeing and witnessing within myself and within others. And like I said, it's going to be a bittersweet episode. And I think by the end of this episode, I will be sharing the updates and the things that I've come to realize over the past month since we last recorded. Things have been so beautiful, so busy, so good. I spent some time in Canada visiting family, and it's always so amazing going up there because I really have taught myself over the years how to disconnect. I remember the first time I went up there was pretty early on in my business, where I literally didn't know what to do for the 2 weeks that I was there. I was like obsessively checking my inbox, seeing if people were emailing me, looking for work to do, even though I declared and I set myself up to not have to do anything at all so I could be super present with family. And, years later now, I'm like, okay, I found the balance. This is amazing. And so it's even just so cool to see how, for me, my ability to let go and be present and not be in this hustle mentality has really evolved over the years. And, for some people, showing up, taking action, putting themselves out there, being really consistent in the doing piece is really hard for them. And for me, that's actually always been the easy piece. Getting still, creating space, that's been what's hard for me. And so I, grew up, a lot of you know that I've been in the podcast space, listening to the Alchemized Life for a while, or in my world for a while, know I grew up in a very driven, like masculine energy, hustle culture through my work and my career. Whether it was in the restaurant space where it's go, 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 or when I transitioned into corporate and startup culture where it's even more intense, go, go, go. That's what I've always known. And so starting my business, I brought so much of that energy into my business, which I do attribute to a lot of the success that I've had because I don't hold myself back. I show up and I take action, whether the fear is there or not. But for me, the relearning and patterning has really had to be around, it's safe to do less. You are worthy of the abundance and the financial prosperity and the money and the clients and the impact and the reach that you desire without it having to equate to you doing more work. Like, that's been my repatterning. And I know that that's going to resonate with a lot of you. And also for a lot of you, the struggle is actually, how do I show up more? How do I do more? I feel paralyzed. I feel overwhelmed. It's so hard for me to be consistent. And so that's like the complete other side of the spectrum for me. And I think that's why a lot of individuals that are on that side of the spectrum are attracted to my work and the programs that I create and private coaching with me, because I am so like in my power of the doing. But you guys know that the being piece has been where I've really had to work. And that's why I'm always attracted to working with mentors and coaches that embody more of that feminine energy and activate that and remind me that's available for me as well too. So anyways, going back home, it was just 9 days, but being able to see how there's so much more balance there was such a great reflection of my evolution and my growth. And even outside of that, noticing how I was showing up in certain conversations that once would have triggered me or sent me down this like crazy reactionary path, I was so much more grounded and anchored and aware of, do I want to play into the pattern? Or do I want to excuse myself from this because I know who I am, I know what I believe, I know that I don't have to get entangled in this conversation, and so I'm just going to walk away. Family is so funny. Family is so funny in that way, where it's like we go home. I think that's why they say that one quote, right? Like, you think you're spiritual, go spend a week with your family. And I'm really proud of myself because I did spend a week with my family and I felt pretty damn anchored in myself, in my power, in my beliefs, in my values, in just all aspects of me. And I owe that all to the work that I've been doing, obviously, over this past decade. But also recently, I've been going down a path of network spinal analysis. I'm not sure if anybody has ever tried network spinal analysis before. It's a form of chiropractic care. It's very, very light touch. It's not like aggressive adjustments. And two dear friends of mine, Lexi, who y'all know because she's been on the podcast multiple times, she runs the Academy of Breath with me, as well as Desiree, who's my realtor. And both of them had done network spinal analysis separately in two different parts of the world and said that it was just one of the most phenomenal experiences that they had for moving through trauma, emotional relief, pain in the body, and the way that emotions even or trauma manifests in the body as pain. And I actually reached out to Des because she just is such an amazing connector in Austin, and asked her after Penny had passed away, is there someone that does Reiki that you would suggest? Or is there somebody who does acupuncture that can help move this energy? Because I knew that I didn't want to let it be inside of me and get like heavy inside of me. I wanted to process it. I wanted to move through it and integrate the pain and the grief. And she recommended Dr. Rose of Happiness Chiropractic, who is based out of me as the California girl will say North Austin, but I know that some people that are from Austin would be like, that's not North Austin. It's by for those of you that are Austin based, it's by the North Lamar Central Market. So Dr. Rose does network spinal analysis. I have been going now for about a month and I feel so good. I feel so present. I feel so, again, just like anchored in who I am and like omnipresent in the moments where I feel triggered and activated. And so I really feel like this network spinal analysis is something that has been super, super helpful for me alongside and complementary to all of the other things that I do, breathwork, meditation, just creating space for myself, microdosing. So I feel really, really good. And I'm just so grateful for that because, and as I've kind of been sharing over the past couple of months, this has allowed for me to create more space within me so that I can hear what's next and where do I want to channel my energy? What is the next big thing? How am I going to take what I've created and what I've built and like expand it even bigger? And that's been something that has been on my mind and on my heart for multiple years now, but because I was navigating loss and grief and divorce and moving the country, and like really loss and grief is bundled into all of those things, even if it's exciting. But because I was navigating all of those things, I might have had the physical space around me. I might have created time, but mentally and emotionally, there were things that needed to be moved and integrated in order for me to have the clarity of my mind and my heart to be able to receive those answers. And so that's really what I've been working on over these last couple months is like mental and emotional space. And oh my goodness, it's been so cool to see what has come through. So one of the things that I'm really excited and that we're working on is creating our own community platform outside of Facebook, outside of Instagram, outside of even YouTube and podcasts and Spotify, for individuals inside of my world to connect with each other, to connect with our team, to receive content, meditations, breathwork, free masterclasses, just like so much information and activation and places for them to plug into that ultimately is here to support you in your business, in your leadership, in your life, in your health, in your relationships, in your self-image. And I'm so excited because we're like just on the brink of, actually, by the time this episode is released, the Mindful Masters community will officially be launched, which we did the soft launch of the membership for our AOB alumni. And it was monthly calls, or it is monthly calls with a monthly guided breathwork journey and themed conversations around all of the different nuances of leadership and space holding and coaching, and really just supporting our community with those deeper conversations that you don't really get to have anywhere else. And it's been so much fun, but I knew that the call and the breathwork journey was just like one aspect of it. And I really wanted to create a collective where people can connect in between calls. And so I'm assuming that by the time this episode is actually aired live for the general public, that our community will be launched, which is so exciting. And this is really like stage one of the rollout of our bigger community and my bigger vision. And again, all of this clarity came just from getting still, from asking myself, what is that next piece? How do I come back to the mission that I have, which is to get breathwork and meditation into the hands of every single person, and ask myself, what are the things that I'm doing to actually fulfill that mission? And so it's going to be so freaking cool to see this community grow, to have a space that is really an undistracted, just an undistracted space that doesn't have any interferences of notifications, Instagram reels, other Instagram stories, Facebook notifications, what your aunt did yesterday or what your uncle ate 3 weeks ago, but a space that is dedicated to growth and evolution and personal power and leadership and healing through our online platform. And so the first stage is it being a part of our paid membership, Mindful Masters. But over the course of the next months, we are going to be rolling it out into an app. And I cannot wait to see this space come to life. And we have so many big plans for how this space will be utilized, not only by my team, but for individuals that are a part of the Academy of Breath. Our goal is next year to roll it out where our Academy of Breath alumni will be able to host their own meditations or breathwork classes on the app so that they can have a curated space to send their clients or their community their content and their gifts. And so it's really like such a big vision that I'm so excited for. And I'm so excited to share this with all of you because it's something that we've been working behind the scenes on that I just know is going to take the world by storm. And again, coming back to the mission of getting breathwork and meditation into the hands of every single person across this globe, we want to make it more accessible than ever before. And I cannot wait to see it come to life. I'm so excited to roll out the Mindful Masters community. For those of you that are interested, that are coaches or facilitators and teachers, or you desire to be in the space holding and facilitation space, even if it's like physical fitness, personal training, yoga, Pilates, or on the other end of the spectrum, mindset work, energy healing, Reiki, join us inside of Mindful Masters. I'll leave a link in the show notes or in the YouTube description because it really is such a phenomenal space. So that's going to be the rollout. And I'm really excited because I haven't felt this level of just like pizzazz, for lack of better words, since I initially started the Alchemized Life podcast. Creative projects are so near and dear to my heart. And if I'm not creating, I feel so disconnected from my own power and from my passion. Like, my passion is to create. And with that, we have, as a team, started to have conversations around bandwidth and around what it looks like to execute this creative project, this community platform, this app at a really high level. And this is the same conversation that I was having when I first had the idea for the Alchemized Life. What does it look like for me to do this consistently? What do I need to have set up to make sure that I'm not just going to start this, do a couple episodes, release a couple meditations, release a couple breathwork classes, post a couple times in the forum, and then drop it? Because that's not how we create brand. That's not how we create a experience that has the potential to impact thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. Like, the consistency piece and the showing up piece is so freaking big. And, I said this before in the episode reflecting on 5 years of the podcast and 250 episodes. Part of the reason why the Alchemized Life took off so quickly was because there was so much time spent prior to the podcast even launching, making sure that it was successful, making sure that we were, from an operational standpoint, from a creativity standpoint, from an even scheduling standpoint, setting it up to be a success, setting ourselves up to be successful in the different roles that we had. And granted, back when I started the podcast, it was just me, but now I have a team. And so with that, there's been a really big conversation that I've had to have with myself and with the people that I trust most around me. And it's interesting because usually I'm one to pivot quickly if I need to. However, there are certain aspects of my business and certain aspects of what I've created over the past 6 years since I started my business that I've held on to and have felt resistance to letting go of. And even as I say this, I feel super emotional because it's a big deal saying what I'm about to say. And I also want to share what came up for me, where the resistance was coming from, so that when you look at the things that you hold on to or let go of, you can check in with yourself and have that moment of, is this ego? Is this truth? Is this real? Or is this not? And so I honestly even feel nervous sharing this because it kind of feels like once I say it, there's no going back. You guys are going to be like, you're making such a big deal out of this. So throughout conversations and also throughout the last, I would say about year, it's been about a year at this point, I have been really trying to figure out, how do I bring the same level of excitement, love, and fulfillment into the Alchemized Life that I had when it first started. Now, in 2018, when I first started the podcast, my desire for the podcast was to be a podcaster and to talk with really epic people and to learn and consume and take away as much information as possible from as many people as possible. And got to do that in LA, got to do that in Southern California. I got to meet with people in person. And it was the most fun ever because it was this connection between two people happening, this co-creation in person, the energy of being together that then got to be channeled into a stream that reached literally over 1 million people over the past 5 years. So I'm so grateful for that. I think I've shared this before, but once COVID hit and everything went online, my joy of podcasting definitely went down the drain. It didn't feel the same. I had people come on that if I were with them in person would be so present and so with me, but when on Zoom, we're all over the place, distracted, not fully there. I felt for a while, I was dragging myself to some conversations and dragging myself to sit down and record an episode. And because of the massive success the podcast had in the first couple years, because of the doors that opened because of this podcast, I felt this really tight grip on completely letting it go. And instead was asking myself, how do I shift this? How do I refine this? How do I make this fun? How do I change up the energy to fully get behind this again? And I really have done so much. For those of you that have been around since the beginning or the last several years, you know that the podcast has taken on many different forms. We've added these Going There episodes. We have the solo episodes. We have amazing guests. I have my clients come on, and it's all of these conversations are amazing. All of them do bring me joy when I'm actually in them. But what I noticed was that I wasn't actually holding on to the vessel of creativity that the podcast was. What I was holding on to was the idea of what the podcast once was. And while, again, I said at the beginning of this, it's bittersweet. While I'm very sad to share this, I'm also really excited because I know that this decision is going to be opening up a door far greater than the podcast ever could at this point. So with the decision to create this incredible community space, we have decided that we will be officially retiring the Alchemized Life indefinitely to make space for bigger, better, more connected, creative projects and ways to support the Alchemized Life community, the Academy of Breath community, the Ava Johanna Inc. community, all of my programs, in a way that not only will allow you to be even more connected to me, to my team, but also in a way that fulfills me so much more than the podcast currently is. And, you know, I'm grateful that I've created this space again to have the awareness of, maybe this isn't working like it once did. Maybe it's not bringing me as much joy as it once did. Maybe I don't feel like I'm able to connect with people in the same way that it once did. But if I zoom out and look at everything else that's going on in my world, there are so many other things that are bringing that. We've been doing free masterclasses, free Instagram lives. I have my Inner Circle broadcast channel on Instagram right now. And I actually feel more connected than ever to my community, to you guys, those of you that are following me on Instagram. Like, I feel so much more connected to you guys there because it's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. We can have conversation, we can have dialogue. In the masterclasses, in the webinars, in the Instagram lives, like, you are there in real time with me. And it just feels so fulfilling at this stage in my business to be connected in that way. And, you know, like I said, I was holding this tight grip because of what the podcast once was. I was also there's a part of me that also was like, but I've been doing this for 5 years and I I can't let go of this project. I can't say goodbye to it. I can't retire the podcast. And there was a part of me that did say, like, that means that you failed. And I had to sit with that part of myself and again ask, like, is that really true? No, that's not true. In fact, you succeeded beyond what literally 99% of podcasts do. I did it. I made it to the top. Was it the biggest podcast of all time? No. But the stats on how many people actually have a podcast beyond 3 months, the stats of how many people actually have a podcast that surpasses 1 million downloads, the stats of people that have a podcast for 5+ years, it's not even a full percent. And so I had to have that conversation with the part of me that wasn't rooted in reality, with the part of me that was making meaning out of something that wasn't actually true. And I'm so grateful because I have people around me that I could vulnerably share, like, is this a failure? Did I fail? Because a part of me kind of feels like I failed. And I got to kind of get slapped silly and be like, no, Ava, you didn't fail. Far from it. The exact opposite side of the spectrum, actually. You succeeded. You did what most people never will do in the podcast space. And so having that little moment of redirect definitely helped with that one piece that I was holding on to. And then, like I said, the other piece was, well, this opened doors for me. You know, the first year of the podcast is what I attribute the success of my coaching business to. And so there's this part of me that was like, if the podcast goes away, will my success go away? But again, I had to get clear and check in with myself, like, is that rooted in reality? Because the truth is no. That's not rooted in reality. Sure, this is a way for me to nurture the people that are here. This is a way for me to have amazing conversations and meet new people and be able to expand my reach just by getting introduced to new people's communities when they share the podcast. But the reality is, I can create content like this on the community platform. And in fact, that's what we plan on doing. We plan on releasing episodes, podcasts, solo eps, interviews sometimes in the community. And so in a way, the long form content, the storytelling, the nurturing of my community is still here. It's just going to be in a different space. And it's going to be in a space where more dialogue can be created, where it's not just me talking to a camera or talking to GarageBand, but me getting to talk to people and actually listen and hear and go back and forth. And so I'm so excited. I'm also really sad. I'm sad to let the podcast go. I'm sad that COVID happened and that doing in-person interviews for 2 years just wasn't really a thing. You know, I'm sad that more people don't live in Austin. I know that a lot of people live in Austin, so don't at me, but not as many as the people that come through LA. And I'm very sad that, you know, the podcast isn't going to be a pillar of my brand and the offerings that I have and the projects that I have anymore. But, you know, like I said, we're retiring the Alchemized Life indefinitely. That doesn't mean that I'm never going to do a podcast anymore. That doesn't mean that one day I might not come out with a new show. It just means that I have the awareness to know that it's not working anymore and I'm not going to force it. And the reasons why I was keeping it around were not based in desire or fulfillment, but based in this tight grip and this illusion and fear. And I don't want to have anything in my business that's based on that. I don't want to have anything in my life that's based on that. So there are a few more episodes left of The Alchemized Life. Listen to them, enjoy them. If you are newer to my world, there's also over 250 episodes that you can go through with some incredible, incredible guests. So binge them if you haven't already. Go back and listen to your favorites. And make sure to follow me at Ava Johanna on Instagram. join the Inner Circle broadcast channel. I've been having so much fun in the broadcast channel because I can share little riffs throughout the week, little mini podcasts that are 1 or 2 minutes long to inspire you and prompt you to be the best version of yourself, to lead in your life, to claim your desires, to dream bigger than you ever have before. And so there's little riffs like that inside of the Inner Circle broadcast that I'm not sharing anywhere else. I'm also inviting the people in the Inner Circle broadcast to actually let me know, when do you want me to go live? When do you want me to do a masterclass? What topic do you want me to teach on? So it's so interactive. It's so engaging. It's really built through the lens of how can I serve my community based on what you need, based on when you're available, based on what you desire. And so join the Inner Circle broadcast channel. It's totally free. And that's just a little piece of how I am going to continue to serve and support all of you during this transition into our community platform. And again, if you want support that is a little bit more intimate, join Mindful Masters membership. It's only $88 a month, but right now we're doing a 50% off of your first month, so $44 a month. And again, I'll link that in the show notes for all of you. Like I said, this is a super bittersweet episode, but I hope that you can feel my excitement and the conviction that I have around this being the best decision and the best direction for the way in which you and I get to connect with each other, the way that I get to support you, and the overall evolution, not only of the Ava Johanna Inc. brand, but of you as well too. So I love you all so very much. I hope that some of what I've shared will inspire you to just do a gut check with yourself in your own life. And if everything feels peachy, I'm celebrating you for that. But just also keep this in mind that we don't have to have a tight grip on things. The knowing that we have inside of us, we can trust. And when things are no longer in alignment, it's safe for you to let that go. Because when you do, another door opens. As cheesy as that sounds, I really believe that. And I feel that so deep in my bones right now as we take this next step forward, as we say goodbye to the Alchemized Life. So thank you for being here. We will definitely be sharing all of the episodes that we will be concluding the podcast with through September. And come follow me at Ava Johanna.